Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're preparing for the UPSC Civil Services examination, you already know that General Studies Paper 1 can feel, well, like an absolute mountain to climb, right? The syllabus covers a, frankly, massive amount of ground. We're talking everything from history to geography to Indian society. But don't worry, because today we are diving deep into our source materials to completely decode the syllabus. Our main goal here is to help summarize this for UPSC CSE aspirants in a simple, highly actionable way. So let's jump right in and look at the exact roadmap these sources suggest for absolutely maximizing your main score. We've got to start with a bit of a hard truth from our sources. I want you to ask yourself honestly right now, are you just opening those thick textbooks and blindly reading them cover to cover? Because if you are, you might be falling into the single biggest trap of UPSC preparation. Seriously. The Commission isn't looking for human hard drives who can just regurgitate facts and dates. No way. They're actively searching for future policymakers, people who can analyze, connect, and apply information. Treating this exam like it's just a giant memory test is exactly why so many genuinely hardworking candidates struggle to score high in the mains. So you're probably wondering, what's the alternative, right? Well, it boils down to a surprisingly simple formula. The official UPSC syllabus might look like just a few vague paragraphs. But when you combine it with a really deep analysis of previous year questions, your PYQs, that becomes your master key. It's literally the only blueprint you need. The sources make it super clear. Diving into the last 10 to 15 years of mains questions is hands down the best way to figure out what the examiner actually cares about. Okay, to give you that blueprint today, here's our game plan. First, we'll uncover the GS1 master key. Second, we're decoding art and history. Third, taking geography beyond the maps. Fourth, we'll tap into the hidden goldmine of society. And fifth, we'll wrap up with the ultimate resource toolkit. Let's get right into it with Section 1, the GS1 Master Key. The absolute most crucial point here is mastering what experts call antarvishayak drishtikon. Basically, that means you need to adopt a strictly interdisciplinary approach. You absolutely cannot study these subjects in silos anymore if you want to think like a policymaker. The UPSC expects you to understand the why and the how behind every topic, not just the what. So the information you're studying for GS Paper 1, it has to seamlessly connect with the concepts you're learning for GS Papers 2, 3, and even 4. This mindset shift completely changes the way you prepare. Let's look at an example. In GS1 Geography, you're going to study the physical formation of things like earthquakes, tsunamis, and cyclones. But guess what? The examiner expects you to link that directly to disaster management over in GS3. Or say you're studying regionalism or land reforms, you have to connect that to the rise of left-wing extremism and Naxalism in GS3. Even a topic like women's organizations in GS1 requires you to bring in welfare schemes and NGOs from GS2. It's all part of one big puzzle. Everything is connected. All right, moving right along to Section 2, Decoding Art and History. Now, modern Indian history can definitely feel like you're drowning in a chaotic sea of dates. To keep from getting lost, our sources highly recommend breaking the timeline down into very specific chronological phases. It goes like this. Start from the mid-18th century, around 1750, up to the 1857 revolt. Then look at 1858 to 1905 as the rise of nationalism phase. Follow that up with the heavy Gandhian era and constitutional reforms from 1909 to 1937. And finally, zoom in on that final sprint to independence from 1939 to 1947. If you structure your notes into these distinct chunks and just focus on the big events and personalities within them, the whole narrative becomes so much easier to remember. And here is a massive takeaway for you. Stop trying to memorize pure political history. Honestly, the examiner does not care who fought whom on a random Tuesday in ancient India. What they actually want to see is how you link cultural contributions like the architecture, literature, and art from the Indus Valley, the Mauryas, the Guptas, and the Cholas directly back to their economic and social contexts. Also, don't forget to integrate post-independence topics like the non-aligned movement. And for world history, keep your focus laser sharp on the huge global shifts, the Industrial Revolution, the World Wars, and big political philosophies like capitalism and communism. Okay, shifting gears to Section 3, Geography Beyond the Maps. Geography is way more than just pointing at locations on a map. You have to blend your foundational physical geography with human geography. It's all about cause and effect. So you can't just know where the Ganga Valley is, you have to explain that physical factors, like incredibly fertile soil and abundant water, are the direct cause of the human factor, a highly dense population. Another huge focus area is understanding exactly why a primary, secondary, or tertiary industry is located where it is. You've got to think about raw materials, capital, and labor. And finally, if something like a tsunami or a cloudburst is in the news, you need to be able to explain its static physical formation right alongside its real-world socioeconomic impact. Next up, Section 4. We are looking at what is truly a hidden gold mine: Indian society.
Now, candidates dangerously underestimate this pillar because words in the syllabus like poverty and urbanization just sound like generic daily life stuff. But I want you to pay very close attention to this number, 100. Out of your total 250 marks for the GS1 paper, this section alone can cater to around 100 marks. It is an absolute gold mine if you prepare for it correctly, but it's a massive trap if you take it lightly.
You have got to engrave this quote from our sources into your brain, because topics like globalization or the role of women feel so familiar to us, candidates tend to just write generic, essay-like observations. But listen, the examiner is actively hunting for expert analysis. They don't want your daily life musings. If you write generic answers, you are going to get generic low marks. Simple as that. There's just a stark night and day difference between how an amateur and a topper handles this section. Amateurs will just write basic observations, but toppers, they build a really solid structure using specific sociological keywords. They actively quote relevant government schemes, and they cite current real-world case studies. So instead of just writing "women work more now," a topper is going to connect that static syllabus topic to a dynamic current event, like analyzing the specific impact of the modern gig economy on women's empowerment. That right there, that is exactly how you secure those 100 marks. Which brings us to our final part. Section 5, the Ultimate Resource Toolkit. You know, you really don't need to hoard a whole library to clear this exam. You just need the right tools. For art and culture, rely on your 11th NCERT, CCRT booklets, and only selective chapters from Nitin Singhania. For modern history, the 12th NCERT and Spectrum are your best friends, along with a highly selective reading of Bipin Chandra's concepts like the Gandhian movements. Stick to NCERTs for world and post-independence history, maybe some selective Dinanath Verma. But here is the ultimate exam hack, folks. Prepare ready-made introductions and conclusions for your standard topics, and practice drawing flowcharts and maps. Having those ready will save you precious minutes during the high-pressure mains exam. And I'll say it again, stop reading these heavy reference books cover to cover. Read purely based on PYQ trends.
So, what does this actually look like for your daily study flow? It breaks down into a really simple 4-step action plan. Step 1. Decode the syllabus into precise microtopics so you always know exactly what you're looking for. Step 2. Ruthlessly analyze at least 10 years of PYQs to spot those repeating trends. Step 3. Build concise, keyword-rich notes and always add a top-up of current affairs. And step 4. Constantly interlink those notes. Connect your geography to your disaster management and your society topics to governance.
I want to leave you with this provocative thought to really challenge your preparation strategy today. Go look at your notes right now. Are they just a list of isolated facts, or are they a web of interconnected analytical ideas? Because if you can shift your mindset to that interconnected web, you are already thinking like a policymaker. I really hope this explainer gives you a much simpler, clearer path to completely conquering GS Paper 1. Keep analyzing, stay curious, and happy studying.